Hi guys, my name is Rachel and today I'm here to do my March wrap up. This is all the books that I read in the month of March. So similar to January and February, I read 4 books this month, which as I said before is the minimum amount of books I would like to read every month. I would like to get to 5 or 6 books one of these months, but it just doesn't seem to be happening yet. Hopefully in April, but honestly I don't have my hopes up. But sure, we'll see what happens. So without further ado, let's get into the 4 books that I read in the month of March. The first book I read in the month of March is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This is a standalone historical fiction novel. This takes place in Lithuania in 1941 when World War II was taking place. This follows a 15-year-old girl called Lena, and her mother and her brother are taken away with many other people in Lithuania and are being brought to these camps. So this was a really good book. I didn't really know too much about what happened in Lithuania during World War II. I feel like it hasn't really been talked about. This just shows the journey that Lena and her family go through. It's really emotional. I actually cried about 3 times reading this. It really upset me, especially because it's obviously based on real events and it was just so heartbreaking to read about. I was actually in a bit of a reading slump reading this book at the start of March, but once I did get back into it after a few days, I just completely flew through it. It just really grabbed me. As this is based on a true story, it just makes it so much harder to read knowing these things actually happened, and it's just so sad. The writing is fantastic. Ruta Sepetys is a very well-known historical fiction author, but this is actually my first book by her that I've read, and I do own a few of her other books, so because this one was so good, I definitely plan to read her other books quite soon because this one was just brilliant. The character of Jonah, who is Lena's younger brother, my heart broke for him. He's only a little kid and he had to grow up so fast. Same as Lena, she's only 15, and they both had to grow up so fast because they had to fight for survival, and they built these really strong friendships with other people in the camps, and it's just so emotional. Lena meets a boy called Andreas on the way to the camps, and there's a little friendship and a little bit of a romance there too, which is really sweet. Those bits were really nice to read about because through all the fight for survival, it's nice that Lena actually meets someone, and it's just so sweet. This book was just an emotional roller coaster. It really was. I highly recommend. I definitely want to get into more historical fiction this year, but this was definitely one I really enjoyed. Just made me cry. So emotional, beautifully written, amazing characters, a heartbreaking story. I gave this 4 stars on Goodreads. It didn't quite reach 5 stars for me, but it was still an amazing read and I really enjoyed it, so I highly recommend. The next book I read in the month of March is Apocalypse Kings by Derek Landy. As I've said in previous videos, Derek Landy is one of my all-time favourite authors. The Skullduggery Pleasant series means so much to me. It's a series I've been reading since I was young and it's just absolutely fantastic. It follows a girl called Valkyrie Kane, who is a girl with powers. She's able to do magic, and Skullduggery Pleasant, who is a skeleton detective, and they just go on all sorts of adventures, and it's an incredibly hilarious but also fun and moving and emotional story. It's absolutely one of the best series ever. Derek Landy is also Irish and lives in Dublin, same as myself, so the series takes place in Ireland, which is amazing for me because all the places that are mentioned are places I know or have been to. Amazing series, always been one of my favourites and always will be one of my favourites. The entire Skullduggery Pleasant series is on this shelf here at the very top. I have it at the top because it just means so much to me, and actually the second last book in the series, Dead or Alive, literally just arrived on my doorstep this morning and I'm so excited. I'm just going to dive right into that one. I'm so sad that the series is nearly over. It just means so much to me. Anyway, this book is a short little novella that Derek Landy released for World Book Day in March, so it's only about 100 pages. I flew through it in one sitting. It was amazing. Even though it's such a short little book, it was just such a complete story. I just really loved it. We meet the main character in this story, Adideo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm very sorry. Adideo is a school kid and he accidentally releases the Apocalypse Kings into the world. So then he meets Valkyrie and Skullduggery Pleasant, and together they're trying to defeat the Apocalypse Kings. So Valkyrie and Skullduggery go undercover in the school to try and find these Apocalypse Kings. Valkyrie has to pretend she's a schoolgirl and Skullduggery has to pretend he's a teacher. It's just so much fun. This takes place after book 5, so even though book 14 of the series just came out, this takes place after book 5, so Valkyrie is only about 15. It was actually so weird reading about about Valkyrie being young again. I'm so used to her like growing older with me. Like now in the most recent book she's like 25, 26, which is the same age as me. So it was so strange going back to when she was only 15, but at the same time she's still the same person. We still love her. She's definitely a lot more calmer in some ways, and the fact that she hasn't gone through all the emotional trauma and heartbreak that she goes through later on in the other books. So she was kind of a bit more innocent in this one, and it was just really cute to read about. I love Valkyrie so much. She's such an incredible character. She's an amazingly strong woman. Love her. One thing I absolutely love about Derek Landy's books is that he is so good at writing female characters, because one thing I noticed by a lot of male fantasy authors is that they cannot write women for the life of them. They're so bad at writing women, but Derek Landy just writes them so well. Not just Valkyrie Kane, but also some of the other women in the series like Tanith and China. Just incredible women, and he's so great at writing them. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Basically, this book was so much fun. I loved it, read it in one sitting. Always love coming back to these characters. It just made me laugh so much. Derek Landy's books always make me laugh, and I gave this 5 stars on Goodreads just because it honestly deserved it. It was so great. I really enjoyed this one. The next book I read in the month of March is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. This is a very well-known author and a very well-known book. I've been putting it off for years for whatever reason. It's just been sitting on my shelf, but I finally decided it was the time to read it, and so many people on BookTube loved this book. Most people seem to give it like 4 or 5 stars. I was actually quite let down. This might be a bit of a controversial opinion. If this offends you, I'm sorry, but I just wasn't as into this book as I wanted to be. I honestly expected it to be a 5-star read just because everyone else loved it, but I just couldn't really wrap my head around it. It was definitely an interesting concept, but I think the execution just didn't work in my opinion. So basically this follows our main character Aaron, and he is just living his life. He has an amazing girlfriend, amazing friends, whatever, and then he meets this boy Thomas, and he actually realizes that he's starting to fall for Thomas. So even though he says he loves Genevieve, his girlfriend, he's starting to feel things for Thomas, and he's kind of wondering about his sexuality. This is like a YA futuristic contemporary novel. So one thing that makes this book different to other contemporaries is that it has this thing in it called the Letio procedure, and basically people can get the Letio procedure done on them if they want to forget unwanted memories. It's like this whole big procedure that completely just represses certain memories. Like people take it if they've lost someone they love, or if they've been betrayed by a lover or something, like they just can delete those memories almost from their brain. It's very interesting. It actually did make me think a lot. Like if this procedure was real, I kind of thought like, is there any memories I would probably delete? And honestly, maybe. It did make me think a lot. It was a very interesting idea, I gotta say. If you were able to get this procedure done and just delete any like painful memories from your past, would you do it? It's interesting. It's definitely a good debate, you know? If anyone's interested in having a debate with me about this, let me know. So I liked that aspect of the story, but I feel like the way it works, I don't want to spoil anything. That's the thing. I can't talk too much about this book without spoiling, but there was just some parts of it that I kind of got a bit confused about, and I had to kind of put the book down at 1 or 2 times just to kind of wrap my head around what was actually going on. It was just so much going on at once, especially in the second half of the book. I just needed to process what was going on. Like this book was not what I thought it was going to be at all. I honestly thought that this was just going to be a cute little contemporary, maybe a heartbreaking contemporary, I don't know, but it was just not what I thought it was at all. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think what it was just not what I was looking for. It just wasn't really my cup of tea. But I understand why people do love this book. I can definitely see the aspects that people would enjoy, and I completely understand. I just think it wasn't for me. I couldn't quite connect with a lot of the characters. Actually, my favourite character was Genevieve, which is Aaron's girlfriend. I don't want to say too much else about this book because I don't want to spoil it. Give it a go if you're interested in the idea of this book, you know, because I seem to be the only one who didn't enjoy it as much as others, so, you know, it's highly likely that if you read it, you will enjoy it. I was just a bit disappointed, which I really wanted to love it. I really did, but it wasn't for me. But saying that doesn't mean I'm not going to read Adam Silvera's other books. I have already read Adam Silvera's book, They Both Die at the End. I read that a few years ago and I actually really enjoyed that one. I thought that one was a lot better than this one, but I definitely want to read more of his books because I definitely think he has very interesting ideas, and his writing is really good. It's very engaging. Like, I read this book very quickly, despite it not being like exactly my cup of tea. I read it in like 2 days. Like, it was very quick for me, but the end result just wasn't really what I was looking for, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted. and unfortunately I did give it a 2.5 stars on Goodreads. However, I will read more of Adam Silvera's books and see how they go. And the final book I finished in the month of March is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. Oh my god. Where do I even start? This book was everything. It was absolutely fantastic, and I'm not surprised because Cassandra Clare's books are always amazing in my opinion. I think she's just such a talented writer. Oh my god, this was just 900 pages of perfection. I just loved it. I just loved it so much. I did see on Goodreads that a lot of people actually were disappointed with this finale, but I really enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect. I know I just said it was perfection, but obviously it wasn't actually perfect. Like, there were a few little bits and pieces that maybe could have been removed. I don't really think it had to be 900 pages. She probably could have condensed it down a little bit. There were some parts that could have been taken out, and there were some parts that were a little bit repetitive, but despite that, these characters, her writing, the amount of things that go on, oh my god, this honestly could have been split into 2 books. Like, there was just so much going on. Because this is the third and final book in the Dark Artifices trilogy, I can't say too much without spoiling, but there was just a moment in this book where I actually thought it was finished, like it could have ended and then we could have got another book, but it didn't. If you aren't aware of Cassandra Clare's books, honestly, where have you been? They follow so many different characters. All of her series are connected. She takes up a shelf and a half on my case, and that's perfectly fine because she deserves it. I actually met Cassandra Clare before in 2016, and she was so sweet and so lovely, and it was just amazing meeting her. This book. So this trilogy follows Emma Carstairs, who is a shadow hunter, obviously, and her parabatai is Julian Blackthorn, and she lives with the Blackthorns, which are just the sweetest family. Oh my god, every single one of the Blackthorns is amazing. You just get so connected with them, you just get so attached to them. They all have their own individual personalities, they're all such a lovely family. Oh my god, they mean so much to me. And basically Emma is in love with Julian, and it's actually against the law that parabatai can fall in love. So if you don't know what parabatai is, basically a parabatai in Cassandra Clare's books is basically this kind of bond that you form with just one other shadow hunter. It basically connects them. It's hard to describe. It's basically connecting the 2 people together. It's mostly like best friends that do it, and it just means you're like partnered in like fighting and combat, and your souls are almost connected. It's like a soulmate kind of thing, but mostly with friends or family, could be too, but you're not actually allowed to fall in love with your parabatai. And of course Emma and Julian are crazy in love with each other. This finale was amazing. Before reading this, it's been a while since I read Lord of Shadows, so falling back into this world was honestly just a dream. It was just like, honestly, like a part of me had been missing for a while since I haven't read from this world in a while. I fell back in so easily. This world means so much to me. These characters mean everything to me. I'm actually thinking about getting a tattoo based on this series, one of the runes maybe Enaratse, which is a healing rune. I was thinking on getting that tattooed on me, but we'll see. I don't know yet. I would love if I met someone who loves this series as much as I do, who would get a parabatai rune with me. We could get matching parabatai rune tattoos. That would be freaking awesome. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I can get my own rune tattoo, and that's definitely something I'd like to do. The thing that blows my mind with Cassandra Clare is that there are so many characters in this. Like, there are so many different point of views in this story, but none of them sound similar to each other, and none of them are boring to read about, and there's so much going on with each character, and normally that would kind of throw me off in a series if there was just too much going on and too many characters and too many point of views, but actually Cassandra Clare just makes it work. Every single character has something going on, and you just fall in love with all of them, so you want to know what each character is doing, and you want to follow their journey and you follow their story. It's just incredible. I honestly could talk all day about this series. I do wish I kind of took notes while reading this and could actually do a review, but I feel like it would just be like 2 or 3 hours long. It would just be far too long. I do plan on doing, hopefully, a review on Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron, but I need to read these 2 books here first. The Red Scrolls of Magic and... oh, maybe not that one actually. But I need to read the Red Scrolls of Magic first, and also the Ghosts of the Shadow Market, so I'll get to them soon, and then I'll dive into Chain of Gold. But anyway, Ty in this series, Ty and Kit, their friendship, oh my god, amazing. Emma and Julian, obviously. Actually, one thing I didn't like about this book, mainly because it drove me mad, and I won't spoil it, but Julian Julian drove me crazy. Anyone who's read this story knows exactly what I'm talking about. It was so frustrating to read about him. I just wanted to scream. There was a moment where I just wanted to throw this book across the room because I was getting so frustrated with Julian. So annoying. But yeah, if you've read this book, you know what I mean. He was just so annoying. You know, by the end, they're all my babies. They're all my children. I love them so much. They mean the world to me. And I gave this 5 stars on Goodreads, of course. Cassandra Clare is fantastic. This world is fantastic. I never get tired of the shadow hunters. They're just amazing. And the twists and turns were all awesome. The ending was interesting. This did end on a cliffhanger though, and I was like, I know obviously all of Cassandra Clare's books are connected and she's releasing another series regarding some of these characters, but still I wasn't expecting a cliffhanger, so I read the last page and I was like, oh my god, so much going on in this series. It's so good, it's so good, oh my god. I just never ever want to be away from my shadow hunters again. Cassandra Clare should just keep writing books until the end of time about these shadow hunters because they mean everything to me. I only finished this book yesterday, so I'm all excited about it. I just can't stop thinking about it. I want to talk to someone about it. I really wish I had someone in real life who's read all these books so I could talk to them about it. But it's okay because I can talk to you guys, and let me just say I loved it in case that wasn't obvious. So I won't make this video too much longer. Basically, this was fantastic. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. I'm so glad I finally read it. The whole trilogy was fantastic. I still think Lord of Shadows was the best one, and then maybe this one, and then Lady Midnight. I don't know. I need to kind of process them all again and maybe think about it more. I don't know. But I definitely think Lord of Shadows, the second book, was my favourite in the trilogy. But this was a really great finale, and I'm so excited to catch up on the rest of Cassandra Clare's books, and I'm sure I will be talking to you about them then. So that is it for my March wrap up. I had a very up and down reading month. Mostly it was good. Like Between Shades of Grey was really good. It was 4 stars, and then Apocalypse Kings and Queen of Air and Darkness both were 5 stars, so it was mostly a good reading month. The only book I didn't really enjoy obviously was More Happy Than Not, but that's okay because I enjoyed 3 out of the 4 books I read, so not a bad reading month. Hopefully April will be a little better. I already know 2 of the books I'm definitely planning to read, so I will be talking about them in my April wrap up. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. There is a fly flying around me, and I hope he doesn't come up on camera because he's really annoying me. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you like, please give me a like and subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me. Also leave me a comment and just say hello, or tell me if you've read any of these books and let me know what you thought of them. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a lovely day. Slán live!